You're watching State of States from Hindustan Times, and I'm Aditi Prasad. Most states' governments do not have the money to pay salaries to their staff next month. They do not seem to have that money to pay their salaries to their staff next month. The two major sources, excise duty on petroleum products and on liquor, they have dried up since March 25th, since the lockdown came into place. So, in that event, liquor sales could have been a major financial lifeline for the respective state governments. But the chaotic scenes witnessed today across the country at the liquor shops where social distancing was thrown to the winds by tipplers lining up for their bottles was sobering to say the least. I'm joined by HT editors Venkatesh Babu from Bangalore, Sachin Kalbag from Mumbai, and Shivani Singh from Delhi. Let me start with you, Shivani. Shivani, it's a Hobson's choice, really, liquor sales.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Hello.
Yes. Would you agree that
Yes.
the sale of liquor is
Yes.
really a Hobson's choice for the respective state governments? And I'm talking specifically to you because you cover Delhi. You have an idea of what happened in Delhi today. What exactly could the Arvind Kejriwal government have done differently?
Excise and sale of liquor is almost 14% of the revenue of the total revenue in Delhi. And we just had, yesterday, Arvind Kejriwal, when he was announcing the relaxations, he said that, how it was very important to open up the economy and get the economic activity started because Delhi is, the finance, the revenue is almost down by 90%, and they don't have enough money to even pay the salaries, I mean, what you're saying is right. It's in a sense, it's Hobson's choice. I mean, you have the dilemma where you are, no, your government is running short of funds, and then it's forced to open the economy, get the economic activity started, and open liquor shops because those are a big revenue earner. But what we saw today, I mean, it was quite chaotic. Shops opened in the morning and there were long queues, and by afternoon, the police had to lathi-charge. Some of the shops had to be temporarily shut down because there was just so much crowding. There was no sense of social distancing happening here. I mean, you also have, the number of cases are rising. Yesterday saw the highest, single day jump in the number of cases. So that, of course, is a worry for the government. So, I mean, the government has to now sort of do a balancing act. Yes.
I want to talk to you about the fact that it's a good step for Arvind Kejriwal to have opened the liquor shops across Delhi in the first place, primarily because Delhi falls in the red zone. So, what prompted this decision by the state government? I mean, Delhi has been doing very well. It's yes, numbers are increasing, but at a lower rate than what was earlier. So but this decision to open the liquor shops today and the chaotic scenes witnessed today, at least in Delhi, they might have set back some of the gains made over the last, 4 weeks.
The government, Delhi government is saying that whatever it's doing, it's based on what the center had, the guidelines the center had issued. So it's not sort of deviated from, what the center has been asking the state governments to do. And as far as, the red zones go, Delhi, of course, all 11 districts are in red zone. But yesterday, Kejriwal said that this was a bit unfair because there are some areas which do not have cases, and there are some areas which have seen clustering of cases. So those have been declared containment zones. So he said that the government should, the central government should revisit the definition of red zones and focus more on containment zones where they can have even stricter regulations and restrictions. So that is one part. I mean, since all the state governments were opening the opening liquor shop, so I guess the government also decided to go ahead with it.
go ahead with it, and primarily
Yes,
because a large part of its revenues come from
absolutely. Yes,
excise
yes.
on liquor. Absolutely, and at this time they probably need all the money they can, given that they are in a bad situation. In fact, every
Yeah.
state government across the world in India and across the world is facing the same dilemma. Let me come to you, Venkatesh. Karnataka opened about 4,500 liquor shops today. Some did puja, even burst crackers. You know, those visuals on our TV screens were very fascinating. But were there similar scenes down south, or where social distancing norms were brazenly flouted as they were in Delhi?
Let me, before I address your question, Aditi, let me bring in a little bit of data with regard to what liquor sales does to state governments, except for Gujarat and Bihar, which have total prohibition across the country, according to 2018-19 RBI data, which is the latest available. All states, rest of the states and union territories put together, bring in roughly around 1,60,000 crores in revenue to the state government. Outside of GST, the income revenue which comes from liquor sales is the second biggest revenue generator for most states. I think Shivani said it was around 14% for Delhi. The average has been anywhere between 10 to 15% for all states across the country. So it was but inevitable that governments which are gasping for revenue had no choice to open up the liquor vents. Also, if you look at, we have been writing stories of how people have committed suicide because of lack of availability of liquor. That's a separate,
Right.
social question
Yeah, social,
altogether. But
mental, social. Yeah, correct.
but specifically with regard to South, today two states opened up for liquor sales. One was Andhra, and the other was Karnataka. In Karnataka, as you pointed out, people started, reserving places since yesterday night in anticipation of the liquor vents opening. People were leaving slippers, their bags, whatever personal items they could find in the markers which were placed to ensure social distancing, so that they could reserve places in advance before the 9 a.m. opening today. There was huge queues across the 4,500 liquor stores run primarily by the Mysore Sales International Limited, which is a government-owned entity, as well as some of
Right.
the MRP outlets. So there were huge. There was also a lot of chaos, but there was also in some places, a fairly egalitarian approach. There were separate queues for women in Bangalore, for instance. Andhra anticipated this kind of a bump. If you look at one of promises of Jagan Reddy has been to impose prohibition eventually at the end of the 5-year term. So, as a part of that promise, he went ahead and raised prices of liquor by a whopping 25% yesterday, before the vents were opened today. So, tipplers in Andhra actually paid 25% more than what they would have paid 40 days back when the entire thing was shut down due to the current crisis. Yes, there were
Oh my
instances of
God. So yeah, okay.
there were instances of flouting of norms, but there was also a huge amount of jubilation, celebration as an artificial economy. We have also written stories of how there was a black market economy which had emerged around supply of liquor illegally, of course. So all this state governments wanted to capture whatever value they could. So they have gone ahead and opened this up. And right now, remember, no pubs, no restaurants, no places where it could be served. This is just you come, you purchase, you take away, and you drink in the privacy of your home or wherever you stay put. So there was some amount of chaos, but largely I think that it did address a unmet need.
Let me also bring in Sachin at this point. Sachin, in Mumbai and Maharashtra red zones, there was total lack of clarity. Led to a lot of confusion on the grounds, as we were discussing earlier today, as far as the liquor stores opening is concerned. So at least in the red zones, what actually happened on the ground in Mumbai and Maharashtra today?
Uh, See, on Friday last, the Union Ministry of Home Affairs had, issued a circular on what should be allowed, what should not be allowed. They demarcated all the red zones, orange zones, green zones, etc. So the individual states were allowed to upgrade the curbs, but they could not downgrade any curbs. So if you're in the red zone, you can't bring it to an orange zone status. And but if you're in the orange zone, you can increase it or upgrade it to a red zone status. Now in Maharashtra, as we've discussed on your show also earlier, we've had 4 or 5 big cities which are the most affected: Mumbai, Pune, Malegaon, Pimpri Chinchwad. All these places were in the red zone, and they still are, of course. And the Maharashtra government initially on Saturday said that we will not make any relaxation for the red zone people to buy liquor or to open non-essential services shops. Now there was so much pressure on the government. Just to expand on what Shivani and both Shivani and Venkatesha said, Maharashtra earns close to 18,000 crore rupees a year through excise duty due to sale of liquor. Now, in the last 45 days, according to government estimates, they've already lost 2,800 crore. That is a huge sum for a state that depends on excise duty on petroleum products or on the liquor to earn their revenue. Now, the GST from the center is also, is delayed. Maharashtra has asked for 50,000 crore in a relief package for the state. Maharashtra, as you know, is the worst affected state for COVID-19, when Mumbai is the state, city which is the most affected city. So as of today, as of last night rather, we had 8,800 cases in Mumbai. We had more than 13,000 cases in, nearly 14,000 in fact, in Maharashtra. So the fact that all these factors combined made the government itself ambiguous on whether to open or not. They were kind of confused. So on Sunday, they finally decided to open up the shops. Now, very cleverly, or perhaps intentionally, they decided to let the local municipal corporation take a call on the final call, rather, on whether the liquor vends should be open or not. Now, because of that, there was immense amount of confusion on the ground. So like any other city, Mumbai too had a lot of people queuing up from 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday, waiting outside the liquor stores, long queues. Of course, in most of the areas, you had social distancing norms which were imposed, and people were adhering to it. But in a lot of places, you already had a lot of crowding, which actually forced many of the local policemen to come there and say, okay, now shut down the liquor shop because there's too much chaos right now. So on the ground, there was not much clarity on when to open the shops, whom to serve, how many people to serve, what should be your business like. So in the last 45 days in Mumbai, as it has happened in many other cities in the country, much of the sales was happening through the smuggling route, which is that if you know the guy, if you know the neighborhood guy, you'll probably call him up and he will come in a, dressed up, basket and come and give it to you.
Yes, as Venkatesh was pointing out, there's a huge, black economy of alcohol and, even cigarettes sales that was happening over the last 45 days, which I'm not sure, given what happened today, is really going to come to a grinding halt anytime soon, because while a lot of people queued up today, there are still, the people who can afford to pay will keep shelling out that cash.
Just to add to the previous segment that we were talking about, see, Mumbai has something called the Mumbai Metropolitan Region. Now, the Mumbai Metropolitan Region consists of not only Mumbai, which is a city, it also consists of the Mumbai suburbs, it consists of Navi Mumbai, it consists of Thane, Palghar, Raigad, Panvel. These are all different cities. Now, the entire Mumbai, and there's also the Kalyan Dombivli Municipal Corporation, and these are like huge places because each of them have populations of exceeding 3 to 4 million. All of these places, the local municipal commissioners decided, except Mumbai, had decided that we should not open the shops. For example, the Navi Mumbai Municipal Corporation is very clear since this morning that they will not open the shops. The Kalyan Dombivli Municipal Corporation also said something similar. The Mumbai Municipal Corporation did not say anything, and there was a lot of confusion on the ground. Finally, the shops opened much later than anticipated. In any case, the government had said you can open the shops only between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. they finally opened late. People did get their bottles. And if you must also keep in mind that summer is the peak sale season for beer companies and all these liquor shops, because that is when the largest amount of sales happen. And for the last 45 days, because there was nothing available, you saw these huge queues. And finally, because of the indiscipline of the buying public, perhaps the police staff were also not very well geared up for the entire thing, because they had no idea how many people would turn up. The entire thing was just collapsing in front of our eyes. And finally, I think the government woke up late. The police also woke up late. They tried to impose some amount of discipline. But by the time, a lot of damage had already been done. In most cities, like in the Mumbai metropolitan region, like I pointed out, that anyway told them not to open.
Let me bring in Shivani and
for a moment and just add a couple of more points on this. States which decided not to open up have lost revenue. Let me cite specific instances. Karnataka's neighbor Tamil Nadu has not opened up. From heart of Bangalore to the border of Tamil Nadu is just 40 kilometers. People from Tamil Nadu just crossed over today to Bangalore, and the police had a very, very tough time in controlling the crowds. Tamil Nadu lost that revenue by refusing to sell. It was a very similar case with Kerala. Kerala, which has decided not to sell. People crossed over to parts of Mangalore, where border areas where people from states which have decided not to open up, they have lost revenues. And the police had a very, very tough time in trying to identify, weed out people and push out people. These are extremely porous state borders.
So you're saying that obviously there are states which have decided not to open this. So it's not to allow alcohol sales or liquor sales, despite the fact that they would have loved to have that revenue at this particular point in time. That's a very crucial, specifically speaking, about it's a choice between lives, saving lives, and earning tax revenue really. So that's a decision, because what happened today, the kind of scenes we saw in Mumbai, in Delhi, for instance, it's probably going to set us back a couple of weeks really in the progress or in the war against coronavirus. Shivani, what's your opinion there?
Today, after this happened, Arvind Kejriwal addressed a press conference. It was a digital press conference where he spoke. He sort of warned, without mentioning liquor vends. He sort of warned the shop owners and people, and he said that if these shops, if you see this kind of crowding, then these shops may just be sealed. And we know for sure that this is the kind of the revenue which the government requires right now. So the government really doesn't have a choice. It has to go ahead, but then it has to also ensure that there is social distancing, there's no crowding, and it doesn't become a law and order situation. And today also what happened in Delhi was, when our reporters went out, they witnessed a lot of sort of panic buying, in a sense that people were coming, they were hoarding, and when they heard that certain shops were shutting down, they started taking cartons of liquor away. So these are things which have to be streamlined. But having said that, we do have a challenge. We have the cases going up. We have a real situation which has to be tackled. So we'll have to see how the government goes with this.
Right. So let me just come to Sachin. Given what's happening, what do you think the state governments should have done? There are obviously, because it's important revenue implications, they've allowed liquor stores to open. Day one was sort of a disaster, which may have set us back a week, 10 days in our war against coronavirus. I'm saying may have, maybe may not, but the manner in which social distancing was actually thrown to the winds, it tells a very sorry tale. We were unprepared. Clearly, many of the state governments, as you said, they woke up late, they reacted late, they were unprepared for these kind of queues lining up. Going forward, what do you think is the way forward as far as liquor sales are concerned?
The first thing that any state government should have done on Saturday and Sunday, because they had enough time to do this, is to clearly communicate that the opening of the liquor vends and liquor shops and whatever outlets that you have is not a 1 or 2 day affair, it's going to be permanent. In such a situation, people would not have bought in a panic. The reason that people came and stood in the queue was not only because they wanted to drink liquor, but also because they thought that it's going to be a temporary measure of opening these liquor shops, and they wanted to buy as much as possible before they close again. Now, in that situation, you have to communicate properly and clearly, well in advance, that this is not a situation for panic buying. You can buy whenever you want. The second thing was, of course, you restrict hours for buying. So the government in Maharashtra, for example, said that you can buy only between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Now, if you remember what had happened during the first phase of the lockdown, which is after March 22nd in Maharashtra and March 25th across the country, the moment the chief ministers and the chief minister Uddhav Thackeray and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced, everybody went into panic buying mode. Then the Ministry of Home Affairs had to issue a series of clarifications saying that, kirana shops or the local grocer will not be shut, vegetable markets will be open, etc., etc. That communication should have come much in advance. I think point number two is, I think even now there is enough time for the administrators to come on television, to come on social media and announce to the people that please do not panic buy, because this is going to be a permanent measure. We will keep the stores open as much as possible so that you can buy at your convenience without crowding at a specific time. The same thing happened in certain containment zones in Pune, in Mumbai, and certain places where the areas were affected. The local administrators kept vegetable markets open only for 2 hours in a day or 1 hour in a day. What happened was that because it's only 1 hour in a day or 2 hours in a day, the crowding happens, the crowding concentrates only in those 1 or 2 hours, and then social distancing norms are thrown to the wind. So timing is of essence, communication is of essence, and the amount of hoarding that we saw today was a result of a lack of clear communication, and of course the amount of time that you need to go and buy these things. And frankly, we can't be prudish about these things. Let people know that these are essentials for a lot of people. People in different states have, and as Venkatesh also pointed out, and we've reported in Hindustan Times earlier, people have killed themselves because of lack of liquor, especially in Karnataka, places in Tamil Nadu, places in Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala. Kerala, I think Venkatesha may want to correct me, but Kerala had at least 4 or 5 people who had killed themselves. It was not just one person, stray incident here and there. So clearly, this is
Right,
a
those
socio-economic
instances
problem.
were
Yeah.
right, and socioeconomic problem also arises from the other side also, because there are a lot of people and women's groups saying that if you allow liquor sales, then you're really giving rise to domestic violence in this time of lockdown, where the men are at home and they might be consuming liquor, and there might be domestic violence, and that is also a big debate which is ongoing. But thank you so much for joining us today in this discussion. Going forward, obviously the governments are going to be better prepared, and they are going to hopefully try and see that the yes, revenues are important, but social distancing is also important. And maybe people have learned their lessons today. And as Shivani pointed out, Kejriwal has said that if social distancing norms are flouted, then liquor shops, in fact, the entire areas will be sealed going forward. It's the revenue is important, but obviously not at the cost of lives. And with that, let's bring an end to this discussion. We'll keep coming back to you with more. Keep watching HindustanTimes.com. Thank you for joining us today.